Good morning, everyone. Hey, Shia. Okay, Jesse. All right, folks. Let's do this thing today. We have kind of a weird uptrend working here. Not sure how I feel about that. Our good buddy, the Nasdaq, looking about the same. If that is a wider uptrend, it's a very weird one. Don't like it. It's already Wednesday today. Can you guys believe it? Today's the last day of trading for the week. Wild. Hey, Arthur, good morning. Squid, what's going on? Yeah, I'm seeing that resistance as well there, Jesse. This whole area over there to the left. Which, speaking of which, we need to mark up our chart with the levels. That resistance area on the Nasdaq, and we're right at it here. Yesterday's low. Here's the high. And then closing price on there, which is pretty dang close to the low. Morning, Caden. Hey, thank you, Mick. I appreciate the feedback on the video. Let's get our levels going on the S&P. That nasty range we had to endure yesterday. There it is. Well, it wasn't really nasty. It was actually quite beautiful. As far as ranges go. We got our previous day high, previous day low, and we're going to find that closing price too. Also, more or less closed on the low. So there we go. We're still in between the high and the low from yesterday. So far, an inside day. Yeah, agreed, Sachs. It was a great range. It was a great range. Offered some good opportunities. And this was a great looking downtrend. I wish it happened a little bit earlier. It was a little bit late for me to try to trade it. But it was a nice looking trend too. Black screen of doom. Hold on. Welcome, welcome. Those of you just jumping in. Looking at this wider channel, we'll only have it in play if we can get above the yesterday's high. Otherwise, I think we have a good chance of turning down from that area. Got about 11 minutes to the open. There is really no news today. Pretty free and clear as far as news goes. There's some Fed speak after market close. Don't really have to worry about that. So we're all good on the news front. Of course, that probably means we're not going to go anywhere. But hey, maybe we will get a solid range like the past couple of days. Hey, next. Except we're reaching for that previous day's highs. Going. Trying. Really do not think it's going to get above that level, but we'll see. Well, I'm also curious, guys, how everyone did yesterday with kind of just being stuck in the range all day. You know, there were some great opportunities. I know some people trading ranges are really hard. So I'm curious. Let's do a little poll. I want to find out how your guys' trading day was. All right, here we go. Polls live. Very curious as to where we're at, how our day was yesterday. Nice and green, chopped pieces, break even. So far, split dead even between all options. %40 chopped to pieces. If you didn't take a trade, there is an option on that poll for you. There is a break even option. Hey, Ace. Good morning, Fury. No, I don't really trust the uptrend here. It could be legit, but it looks really weird. A lot of just weird empty spaces. And also we're right at the previous day's high. So we're gonna keep it short for now, keep it tight, but we'll see. Hey, we have a lot of people that were break even. That's good. That's good. You didn't end up taking any trades yesterday. You're well ahead of most traders. Isn't that crazy to think? If you can find a way to just watch the market and break even, and maybe that is even some days you're not even taking a trade, you're doing better than like 80% of people out there. Isn't that wild? Serving your capital. Most people can't even just protect their capital. We got 2 minutes to market open. We'll see if we can hold or get above the previous day's highs here on the market open. Last chance to get in on that pull. And the market is about to be open. So cool. Well, I'm encouraged to see that poll. 41% of people ended yesterday's green, and the rest were split between either chopped to pieces or break even, and that's good to see. A lot of break even. There we go. Market is open. Let's see how this uptrend does. Gotta get above yesterday's high for me to really trust it. Be a lot easier to trust if yesterday's high wasn't right there. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the final step in becoming a good trader is just to stop going on tilt. Yep. Instead of trying to do, if you're, let's say you're a developing trader and you're really close, you're just getting over that hump to consistent profitability. Really that final step, I would agree. It's not getting better at a couple more things. It's really just eliminating a couple mistakes. If you can just start taking away a couple mistakes, that can really push you over the edge. Instead of trying to improve your strategy or whatever it is, if you can just eliminate one mistake at a time, one tiny little mistake at a time, that's gonna put you over the edge there. Nasdaq dropping off here, and I do have larger trend drawn just to check it out. Again, not super trustworthy. I hear you, Jesse. I love that attitude. We ought to be pumped for what's to come. It is possible, friends. Okay, let's see how this trend does here. We're right at it. S&P got rejected off the previous day's high, so definitely not gonna buy here. Even though it might work out, it's not gonna be a high probability move. But we'll see if the EMA can hold here and we get a second entry long. I'll take that. That'll be enough to prove to me it's legit. Here's the first entry. Meanwhile, Nasdaq is well below the EMA. We have not got that second pullback yet. Here's that first entry yet to pull back. But if we do and the EMA holds with a bullish bar, I'm going to like that. So already going to figure out what my position sizing will be. Get my trade copier ready. Just in case. There we go. We'll see how this bar forms. Nasdaq's still going down, so I don't have a lot of hope for it. Yep, no dice. We'd have to push above the EMA and get a higher low, but that's exactly why we held off on that trade. Jesse, thank you for that shout out. I appreciate that. Norris, good to have you. I don't know if I said hey or not yet, but what's up? Good to have you in the chat. Welcome. Yes, it's a 2000 tick chart, as Tom said. All right, we're starting to get that push above the EMA, so might present. We'll see. And instant rejection at the EMA, not what you want to see. Matthew, yes, it would be the previous day's high is why I held off on that trade, plus the Nasdaq dropping. And like I said, it might work out, and that's the thing. Even trades that you skip because they look a little dicey, they oftentimes work out, and that's fine. You got to be okay with that. Because you know that there wasn't quite the same edge going in your favor on it. I'm going to take a look at that, Jesse, since you're calling it out. Nasdaq 4000 tick. See what that looks like. Oh yeah, if you have this wider uptrend, definitely below that. Keep in mind as well, guys, we have quite the gap below us here. 25-point gap on the S&P. Gaps are usually filled. And the Nasdaq is very weak right now. Not even a good high or low. Looked like it was going to form really well. And then ended on a doji. You'll notice that the EMA is starting to flatten out here. Bars are right in the middle of that action. Starting to get congested. Starting to become a no trade zone. Could be the beginning of a trading range. Speaking of which, guys, if you haven't watched my video from yesterday, definitely do so. Talk about trading ranges, some key insights there on how to trade them. The Nasdaq right now is definitely in a range structure. So if you'll notice, you got this big mountain shape, this big V-shape reversal. We are still below yesterday's high, above close and yesterday's low. This right here is a range. So since the Nasdaq is in a range, that has to color how we are seeing the S&P. The S&P, not a range. This is definitely not a range, right? We have this pretty good looking uptrend. And so generally we would say, okay, this is likely going to continue up. But if the Nasdaq is in a range and the S&P is still below the high, yesterday's high, and above the low, the likelihood that this turns into a range is very high. But the EMA continues to hold. This is getting tempting to buy for sure. But because of all those things that I just mentioned, will not enter into that temptation. Nasdaq starting to pop up a little bit. This downtrend does look played out. Got a move here. We'll break new low. Now we're forming a base. Could pop up from here. Yeah, Mick. The idea here being that we have an uptrend, it has a break, it needs a new high. The EMA is holding. So the trading idea would be to go along around here somewhere, target that high, put your stop down here. And it's still it's a decent setup. If it fits within your risk structure and your risk tolerance and all that, not a bad one to take. I just, because of what the Nasdaq's doing, because we're right at this previous day's high with a gap below, I personally would hold off, but it does look like it might even work out here. Yeah, I mean, what I mean by it doesn't look like it would be a bad trade is that there are lots of different ways to make money in the market. And ultimately it's a game of probabilities, right? So there's no possible way anyone can say, yeah, don't take that setup 100% because there's absolutely no way it'll work out. We don't know. The market can do anything. So it's all about finding patterns that are more likely to do one thing than another and structuring your risk so that it becomes a profitable system. So in general, when a trend has a break, it will push to a new high. So that's a pattern that is repeated over and over. You have a trend, has a break, more often than not it'll push up to a new high. So using that repeated pattern, you can say, okay, well, I want to do that, then I want to join that to get a new high. Then it just becomes a matter of structuring the trade in such a way, structuring the risk so that it will be profitable in the long run. Like if I were to go long right now, I only have, a couple points till I would need to likely take profit, and my stop would have to at least go below this swing. So that's a really bad risk structure. Or I guess I could, if I think it's going to be a short burst, I could just put my stop below this bar and maybe go to the high. That might be a better way to structure the trade. So there's just always lots of different possibilities for how you would set something up. And so I can't definitively say, yeah, this is a terrible area right here, there's no way you can win. Well, there's lots of ways you can win, just not for me. Hopefully that answers your question, Mick. And there may be another repeated pattern that happens all the time in the market, is that gaps get filled, meaning the gap between today's opening price and yesterday's closing price, which right now is, where's the open? Right here, where we are, and that would be the yesterday's closing price. So someone else might say, hey, we're at yesterday's high. I think it's very likely that we come down and fill that gap. I'm going to go short here and target that gap. Boom. That's a big target. And you know what? I don't even think that it's going to get much progress above that high. So that's where my stop is going to be. And you could make a system on that, right? Targeting that gap fill, putting your stop here. If you do structure it like this, of course, your win rate is going to be very low. But you only have to hit this like maybe 30% of the time to have a profitable system. So there's just so many ways, again, to make money in the market. It's all about how you set things up and how you stay consistent about it. That is why a lot of time is necessary for each person to figure out their own system that works best for them. It's their personality that actually has an edge. Then practice it and refine it and get really good at it. Yeah, Jeff, can you imagine holding a trade like that all day? Well, that's the thing. For some people, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to pick a trade like this, set it and forget it. Go make breakfast, go on with their day, just let it play out. And other people, that would just make them completely neurotic, watching every bar. Oh my gosh, is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? That's why it's really important that the system that you trade fits your personality. Now that short is looking a lot better. We have rejection at the previous day's high. Now we have a double top lower high with a move down. The Nasdaq is continuing down. So shorts here are actually looking pretty good. Hey, candlestick. All right, we got a move down. Let's see if this has any juice to run. Yep, Nasdaq is coming up to that gap fill right here. My might head down to yesterday's low. The measured move on the Nasdaq would be below yesterday's low, so that's where we might be headed there. And this, of course, is the classic flame guy reversal pattern. You hate to see it. You hate to see it this early in the day, but clear flame guy reversal pattern. Hope you're all ready for that one. S&P so far respecting this downtrend. I do not know about selling this pullback to the EMA, just because of how this trend looks. A lot of weird gaps in it. So I'm not going to sell the EMA directly, but if we get a good looking second entry short, I'll take it. May not even get back to the EMA here. I just drop off. Nasdaq continuing to push down below yesterday's close, almost to yesterday's low. So the gap is officially filled on the Nasdaq. Does look like ES is just going to get a new low here, this downtrend, without even giving us a setup. Yep, there it is. Bummer, bummer. Would have been a nice short. Nasdaq is below the low. So I am seeing how a wider trend on the ES will look, because with how weak the Nasdaq is, I think this is a distinct possibility that we get a wide trend on the S&P that heads all the way to the gap fill. Frank, what's going on? The question is, wasn't the previous day high 5,300 on the ES? No, it was not. I'm assuming that you're looking at this, which, yes, this was 5,300. That's technically not yesterday's high, because that happened overnight. So that'd be the overnight high from yesterday, and that's a little confusing, because on a futures chart, this all just looks like one thing, right? But I'm looking at the high of the cash session, the New York cash session, which actually would be right here. So 52, whatever that is, 52.94. But I moved this to that resistance level. That's what I was looking at. Mick asking if that was a textbook second entry short. It was not. It was not. A second entry short needs to happen. Yeah, that wasn't even a second entry. That was just a first entry. So you'll see, I'll zoom in here. You had a pullback, and there is your first entry. There's the first time that prices go below the previous bar. And then we're waiting for a second pullback, and we don't ever have it. You'll notice no bar goes higher than a previous bar. It just continues downward. So that is just a first entry that goes down. If this was, let's say this was a second entry, let's say it did break higher here and then turn down, still not good, because we are so far away from the EMA. You really want to see that setup happen like this. That would be textbook. If you had your first entry here, comes back to the EMA, rejects it, that's where you'd want to take the trade. Yeah, today's a good example of how you do want to mark out levels on your chart. Like previous resistance or previous highs and lows. Because if I didn't have this previous day's high right there, I would have totally taken that trade. I would have gotten long in here looking for a new high. But because of that, I was able to, well, because of that and watching the Nasdaq, I was able to say, this may not be good. A good example of why you need to be watching some of those things. Possible little overshoot of the downtrend here. And if you are enjoying hanging out this morning, if anything has been helpful to you, click that like button. That'd be awesome. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, do that. Do that. It's free, 100% free. And you can participate in the chat and be up to date on what's going on. So 2 little button clicks, very easy to do. And Toad, should I pick my bottom here? Probably. Probably. We're coming back to the EMA, but I am not interested in selling because of this overshoot. See how the EMA reacts though. Exactly that, Tom. Yes. Yes. Possible second entry short here, but because of the overshoot, I would hold off. If we do, however, get a lower high, confirming the second entry short, that's when I would take it. Exactly right. Pull back first entry, pull back. Haven't got the second entry yet, but if it happens here, I will wait for one more confirmation, lower high. Okay, so there is the second entry short. It didn't happen at the EMA though. Gotta see that EMA rejection. We're just barely touching it, so that's not enough for me, unfortunately. All that said, not a bad setup if you want to take a risk right there. Go short below that bar. Yeah, even with overshoot, crazy. Like it's gonna work out. Definitely worked out for a scalp if you're just taking, 4 to 6 ticks or something. Definitely worked out there. Cricket, I do not really enjoy trying to pick a bottom. I think it's a losing proposition in the long run. Me, I want to see confirmation before I pick a bottom, unless we're in a defined range. But the market can keep going down a lot longer than we think. So I'm just looking at the Nasdaq chart. I don't really see any reason to go long at the bottom. That may be guessing. We're below the day from a couple of days ago. Easily have a break and a retest and continued downward movement. So no, I don't really like picking a bottom there. You don't want to get in the way of this freight train here. Yeah, Mick, as I mentioned, the reason I didn't like that short was because of this overshoot here. When you have a move down that overshoots the channel, when it comes outside of the channel right here, that can generate strong momentum in the other direction. So you will often see something like that happen where it's like, oh, nice, great looking second entry short, and then it just launches up. So yeah, too risky for me because of that overshoot. That lessens my edge, so I don't take those. That said, this one worked out, so maybe you take it anyway. Personally, I avoid those. What would this be called when an overshoot temporarily fails? That'd be called it's overshoot. Dad joke for you. Hey Neil, what's going on? They are, in fact, the NinjaTrader default. So I just changed the colors and stuff. So just make a channel on NinjaTrader, double click it, and you can change all the properties. All right, getting a push up after the break and new low, that downtrend. Big old push up on the Nasdaq. So this is more for those of you who are saying, hey, maybe we can pick a bottom on the Nasdaq. This is when you can start considering that. This is when you're looking for confirmation, maybe like a failed second entry short, or if you're looking on a larger pattern, maybe just a double bottom, higher low. Now you can start considering that. That's some solid tinfa, Tom. The other thing I would do, totally also tinfa, but if you are going to get into more of a bottom picking strategy, you want it to be next to or on some clear support. So you don't want, like the Nasdaq example, you don't want it to be just out in the middle of nowhere. And let's say you said 10,000 tick. All right, let's take a look at that. So cumulative delta is one way. See if there might be an exhaustion in sellers. Otherwise, yeah, you want it to be next to some clear support. I don't really see anything too clear. You do have, you know, this low here. Maybe you take that. Maybe you take that. Depends on how wide your stop is too. If you would have taken that, you'd need to stop whatever that is. Like almost 70, 50 to 70 points down or something. Yeah, it depends on your overall target. So if you're going to do something like that, you'd have to have a bigger target. We're talking, you know, maybe the high a day or something. Anyway, there's different possibilities. I would look for more of this kind of support that's confirmed over several days for bottom picking. Then if you have a move down into there, that would be a good spot to try to pick a bottom. You see price reversed several times from that area. Sounds good, Jeff. Take care, man. We are back at that low of the day. Like we might be taking out stops here in a sec. Possible little range forming down here at the low. And yeah, Mick, that's where I'd be looking if we're going to continue down. Likely headed to that, at least the previous day's close. And this would have been a great spot for a short on the Nasdaq if we didn't have this overshoot of the trend. Great looking downtrend, pull back to the channel line. If this was inside the channel, I'd be short here for sure. Yes, looks like we're testing the bottom of this range. If we break below, this could get ugly. It's hanging out at that support right now. Prices from here meander up to the top of the range, and we get a nice bearish bar. I think I'm going to take that short. Looking for the bottom of the range and then onward to a gap fill. And if you guys did not see, today is the very last day for the 1 day pass 80% off sale for Apex. And that is 80% off recurring too. So not just this month, but all future months for the lifetime of that account. And you can pass in 1 day. So if you're wanting to do that, today is the day to take advantage. We have some great market movements. Be able to actually pass today too. So good time for it. I would imagine they're probably going to go back to 71% off starting tomorrow. It's my guess. I don't know. And yeah, maybe they'll do half price resets tomorrow. Not sure. That's kind of been their fallback. But as far as the 1 day pass, I don't think that's going to continue. To take advantage of that while it's here. Fury, I'm looking at, and this goes with all these things, I say this all the time, but I am looking at SPY, not ES, when it comes to the previous day close, when it comes to yesterday's high, yesterday's low. I'm looking at SPY. That is because New York cash session, those levels are really important. So yeah, previous day's close on ES is going to be different. Because the futures market closes at a different time. Yeah, we're starting that meander up to the range high. Ooh, look at that bearish bar. That formed quick. All right, let's see if we can get this pull off before anything crazy happens. I'm curious what you guys think. if we are going to either get to the close, previous day's close, or the previous day's high. Previous day's low or previous day's high? Where are we going to go first? Cast your votes, chat. Let's see if we can get a trade signal. We got to sharpen our skills as the chat that gives out the trade signals, not the fade signals. So far, we're all thinking the low. Everyone's thinking the low. Oop, sorry, I was on mute. I was asking where, so far we only got bears. We only got bears. Where's all the bulls? Where's Team Toro? They're napping right now. Everyone's thinking bearish. I did not vote yet, Mick. I'll let you know my thoughts once everyone has a chance to select their vote. I don't want to spoil the results with my opinion. All right. Last chance to vote. Now that we're getting a green candle, I bet the bulls are going to start to wake up and vote here. All right, so 79% of people think we are going to get down to the low first before the high. And I would say that I do not actually have a vote. I don't know. This downtrend had an overshoot, had a break a new low. We are now in this trading range. I honestly think it could go either way. So I don't really have one strong leaning one way or another. Neil, good question. I do have the 1OP indicator up. And I check on that to try to get an overall idea of where the market's going. Yes. Would I be able to trade without it? Absolutely. I don't need it, but there's a lot of things like that that are nice for confirmation. Jack, I always appreciate you seem to know when to stop. I do like that. When you're down, it doesn't seem like you try to overtrade and make it all back. So that's great. The skill to be able to just take a red day and continue on is awesome. So have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, we are getting to that range high. Already dropping down a bit, not even touching that range high yet. All right, Jesse. Enjoy the grind as much as you can, my friend. All right, Vang. Well, since you're long, I'll cheer for the market to go up. Oof. Oof. Man, that formed fast. Getting some volatility, ladies and gentlemen. Mick, no, the ATR is not a momentum indicator. It's simply it's the average true range. So it's simply telling how the average size of the candles essentially. So right now the ATR is 1.94, meaning on average each candle is about almost 2 points. Starting to get stuck in the range, but this doesn't feel like the range of yesterday. Yesterday, this was a range that was pretty directionless, meaning it was just kind of stuck right here. There's no real area we could have gone to above and below. Versus this range, which is coming off this downtrend. So typically, you would see continuation of that. So it has more of a possible direction to it versus kind of just being the only pattern for the day. So the market can consolidate for a while. That happens as normal. It doesn't mean that we're just going to all of a sudden chop around. Likely we'll head down and hit that close. Yesterday's close. Or if we break out of the top, there's a lot of room to that previous day high, which, you know, we had that trend that tried to get past there. So might go up and pay that a visit. So either way, we have place where the market is likely to go, and so movement is possible in either direction, if that makes sense. Versus like, hey, we're chopping between the overnight high and the overnight low. At that point, you know that the market is not going to go anywhere. You know, it's pretty much destined to just chop around here. Not the case today, so that's good. Starting to break below that range. Hopefully we can get one chance to get short before we get to that previous day's close. Identified a small little range there on the NAS, which is also top of yesterday's low. See you, Toad. So for the rest of the day, guys, here's kind of what I'm seeing. First of all, we're getting close to that previous day's close, to that gap fill. So expecting that that would likely be filled. Hopefully we can get a setup that takes us down there. If we get there and we don't just burst through, we will probably be range bound. As long as we're between the low and the high from yesterday, we're going to be range bound. The good thing though is that there is a big distance between the two. So we're talking almost 30 points. So when that's the case, there's still opportunities to get some trends, right? You could get an uptrend like this and trade it on a break and a new high. You can get a downtrend like this, trade it on a break and a new low. So there's actually lots of opportunities for trend trading, even in a range, even if we're bound between the high and the low, because it's such a big distance. So that's what I would look for probably. And I'm just gonna say that's probably what's gonna happen. We'll probably get down to this area, maybe consolidate for a while, maybe even poke through, but then we'll probably end up just chopping around all day headed up and down. So be some mixed trading. So there should be some good opportunities on either side. So stay flexible. That's what I would imagine is going to go down for the day. Again, last day for the 80% off. 1 day pass sale. Could be a good day to pass some accounts. I am also going to hop over into the Discord right now. If you want to join that, the link is below. I will see y'all over there. And otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow on YouTube for the stream at the same time. Hope everyone has a great day. Peace.